hi everyone.
Hi.
We've only just met as well, so hi. Thanks everyone for coming in person. Amy Crowther, very old headshot up there that looks nothing like me today. But I lead strategy and planning at Jellyfish, which is a independent full-service agency from creative media technology. And yeah, based in New York. We have a good global footprint, but I'm here with Carina. Do you want to introduce?
Hi, Carina Ertl. I'm the CMO and Chief Digital Officer for Tourneau USA, 3+ years now, and yeah, based in New York.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the brand, and you've been going through a rebrand for the last couple of years, and a little bit about sort of retail, the footprint of that into your kind of role as leadership. So do you want to give everyone a little bit of an overview of the history of the brand and where you started with this, Tourneau, Booker kind of taking over that, and
Absolutely.
then the hybrid sort of merge that you've been doing?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So just a little bit of background. So Tourneau is one of the biggest watch retailer in the United States, founded in 1900. Thank you. And Buchra is the oldest watch retailer in Europe, founded in 1888. And because we are so far through the rebranding, I'm 1888 now instead of 1900. And we were acquired from Buchra back in 2018. And then we decided in 2019 to go through a full rebrand. And it was a very hard decision at the beginning because Tourneau is such a household name and people really have so much passion and connection to that brand that it was not a clear yes or no decision to rebrand or not. Even like the owners in Switzerland were not like completely decided if to rebrand or not. We went out in 19 and early 2020 with research within the United States, and we did like an intensive research with quantitative, but also obviously with like live interviews, dinners, VIP clients, prospect clients, because we wanted to understand two things. We wanted to understand if you think about luxury retail today, what is your expectation as a client? What is the experience that you want to have from a luxury watch retailer? And the other part was, should we rebrand or should we not rebrand? We really asked that our customers. What we came back with was amazing stories about the history of Tourneau and the brand loyalty to Tourneau and the brand awareness, which was really interesting to me because I'm originally from Europe and I connected much more with the Buchra brand than the Tourneau brand. So people really have this incredible stories about Tourneau that they went there with their dad or they went there for college graduation, got their first watch. There was like histories of families coming through multiple generations. And obviously a lot of opportunities as well, because we knew that if we want to rebrand, we want to use that to really upgrade and be better. We wanted to really make this marriage of these two partners and bring out the best of everything and use that to completely rethink our experience, our client experience, our store designs. And that's then what ultimately happened. And we're still right now in something that we call the hybrid phase, where we use both logos just to make it a little bit easier in that transition period, because we didn't want to do something like where we just go overnight, okay, we just like re-sign the stores, redesign the website. We still keep that hybrid up until approximately end of next year.
How's that going, the hybrid, sort of two brands together, the names? Obviously, you started with thinking about your loyalist consumers and asking them those stories of that brand. Have you seen a response to that? Have you pivoted in the plans of rebrand, or where is it currently?
I think we did two really good things in retrospective. One was we had a really strong rebranding campaign, embracing, like when Tourneau first came to, Buchra to the United States, we started that journey exactly 1 year ago. So it's actually our anniversary this month with the reopening of Time Machine. And that reopened like in a whole, it's basically a whole new store right now. It's on 57th and Madison, if you guys want to see a really amazing store. But we started with a rebranding campaign, especially in New York, bringing two icons together, because we learned from the survey that attributes that really responded well with the clients was everything regarded around Switzerland, especially for watches. You want to talk about the Swiss heritage. You want to kind of romanticize Switzerland a little bit. You have a strong heritage culture. So all these things we wanted to pack into the campaign. And we just used a very, very iconic image from Switzerland, which was the Matterhorn. And then we used a very iconic image for New York, which is the Empire State Building. And we kind of merged those two together as one of the key visuals for the campaign. And then we also had a very stunning campaign called Where Will Time Take You? Just about like the heritage time, like it obviously goes into a whole concept if we start thinking about time in general. And we ran this last year, even on Times Square, and I think that was something that made it really successful. And the other part, because we were very clear in our communication strategy to hone in on the opportunities that Buchra brought for us. So there were new product categories. There's Buchra Fine Jewelry. There's exclusive collections that are only available within Buchra worldwide. There's this new store design. So there were a lot of amazing things also on the hospitality aspect within the stores that we could like tell the story about. This is all the great things that come with this change to Buchra. And the clients have not complained so far.
And so you're in that sticky situation as a retailer. You can't use the products and brands in your ad campaigns, right? So you have to find ways around it using things like, the shortcut of the Matterhorn, a great example of how do you take the Swiss, everything that goes around luxury brand and watchmaking from that sort of history and heritage and pull that into what it means in New York. So an interesting workaround. And so the consumer experience, obviously the store is phenomenal. You should definitely go. And what is that sort of that transition of in-store experience for consumers to this sort of digital transition as well, obviously through the pandemic, stores being closed. Have you found you've had to kind of find the distinct role for online versus the in-store experience in that world of luxury watch buying?
Great question. In that segment, in general, in this, especially the watch segment, online was not, like, we were a little bit slower in adapting to online in general. Tourneau has been one of the first players, however, like they went back 15, 16 years ago with a fully shoppable website, fully omni-channel integrated, which was not standard at that point in time. So, and today we are still, like, you cannot obviously compare us as like a classic heritage brick and mortar retailer to a D2C company. However, the digital transition is really, really important because you want to ultimately get the same experience that you now have in the stores, also on your online journey and your customer journey. From a data point perspective, you have, like any other retailer as well, over 80% of your clients come to your website, to your social media channels first, and it plays a huge, huge role in discovery. So we are working on ongoing projects to really making that discovery journey much more fun online as well, and include many more services. But this is down the road. I think generally, and because we are both in the same business, you're on the other side as a partner for digital transitions, I think it's so important when you embark on that journey, and you obviously do that constantly, because even if you're really far advanced, there's always something new. To be really clear on where you are at any given point in time on your digital readiness, where you are on that matrix. I always like to look at a matrix and see where you are and be brutally honest with yourself and your teams and your leadership, and then find a strong partner that can really help you establish that vision and get you there step by step. And really, like, the roadmap is so key, and be sure you think about everything on that roadmap, not just about like how to integrate that new tech stack, but how you train. Who do you need to have on your journey from day one? Your super users, for us, the store teams. I cannot just roll out something cool and new if I haven't had like the store teams in that discovery journey from day one. So like really that step-by-step roadmap is so crucial. I think that's where most of us struggle with, because you get overwhelmed. You have so many cool technological software solutions, and sometimes they overpromise, not because they can't do things, but because you and your organization need to start to understand and adapt.
Yeah, it's a challenge we get a lot with our clients, and it's this shift from, what Jellyfish historically was kind of a performance media agency. And so we were very much grounded in digital and technology and those sort of very quick short-term metrics. We've really bolstered our strategic and creative capabilities because of that exact challenge. And we have, a lot of clients, it's not something you do overnight of go out, we're an in-store experience brand and we want to move to D2C. Great, but there's a roadmap to get there, to exactly your point of what does stage one of that look like, and why are we doing it as well. If Amazon is the place that people buy your products, then how do we optimize that and make that work really hard for you before we think about building new things? So I think that consumer experience part of it, as you said, is really understanding the value of in-store experience, using other .com, using D2C as well, and extracting value as a marketing business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so for you as being that consumer experience is so key to, the whole sales journey, right, of the products that these are not FMCG good items, right? What kind of metrics do you look at as a CMO? How do you, translating things like consumer satisfaction or experience into business metrics is tough. Do you have a workaround for that? How do you approach that as a mapping business KPIs?
It's really a challenge. Like I think especially, that's why I'm so grateful for Brand Innovators, because we come together and we talk about this, right? Your dashboard today as a CMO, it's intense. And that's why it's for me, still like the best job out there, because it's shifted so much over the years, right? And we really talk about data now, and we need to know the data. And I look every Monday at a dashboard that gives me a ton of data. And obviously I look at sales because I want to make money ultimately. But we look at engagement. We still have an updated version. It's originated from Net Promoter Score. It's a newer, updated version of it. But we then really we get a lot of client comments. And that's honestly the most honest feedback and the best data points for me, because the clients are brutally honest. And they give us feedback on the website, on their experience, on their in-store experience. And that's then what we build up on when it comes to that experience. Everything else is obviously your classic performance data points. But for me, engagement and every raw data point that I get from the clients directly, that's the most important.
And so in some organizations, the kind of that customer service part of things might be a separate entity, right? Somebody else's remit. For you, is that something you have full visibility?
Yes, that's part of us. So from the beginning, and usually I'm so used that you need to not argue about this, but you have to explain it. Tourneau from the beginning immediately understood, like, you have to have brand marketing, digital, and customer service in one organizational setup. So we have our customer service director on our team calls every week 3 times, and we get live feedback. And we really hear not just with people, right, but also from the calls. Like, we have an issue here. Someone had a really bad experience there. How can we improve? How can we optimize that? But obviously also positive feedback as well.
That's good stuff as well. So just back to the rebrand for 1 second. You mentioned this hybrid stage that you're in right now. What's the next iteration of that? What's the plan for where you kind of get it to ultimately?
To completely remove Tourneau, and then it's all Buchra 1888 for retail and for corporate Buchra.
So it will remain as the independence sort of labels on.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it just goes from
Yeah.
the two names right now to one name
Amazing.
by next year at some point.
Yeah, and so your team, as you said, kind of you have visibility into multiple areas of the business. How does that work with Booker at the moment, of the European side of it to what it means here in the US? As you know, in your role, is it with your team building? How do you kind of manage that across the two very different environments for this sort of category?
Well, I think it's like with everyone who's like in a global organization, you have a HQ, and obviously for us, it's like we are growing together because we used to be like two totally separate entities. We have an amazing partnership. We have a lot of emails. I think that's the only real change, like the amount of emails. But we have like a great alignment. So we just share like these are our best practices. These are the best practices, from their end, and then we have a common vision that we work towards.
Yeah. So you mentioned females. Obviously, the luxury watch industry, especially, is historically a male-dominated area. How have you approached being a leader in that industry, in your role?
Okay, that's a good question. I think that's where we can have like a whole day long. It's a good conversation. Yeah. I think it's like anywhere else, right? I mean, I got like data points today, and these are independent of like watch industry, that we still have like only 5% of CEOs are women, only 23 of the executives are women. In the world, the 5% of CEOs are in the United States. So I think it's across the board, right? So I think the question is, what can you do individually, and where are like key points that you want to focus on? For me, it's always a little bit like, I'm always a little bit careful with these gender discussions, but there is, and we all have it, and it doesn't mean just like male, female, it's against and about anything, these unconscious biases. I think that's something that we don't talk about enough, and that you need to be really aware, because they just exist. And the other part is also, how do we make it easier for women to really strive in their careers? Because I feel we sometimes forget, and everyone who is a woman and who has that, and there are enough men as well who just have that automatically, that role of like being also the caregiver. So if you have a family or parents or anything, it's usually still, from a data perspective, more women that then have to take care of that as well. And that makes it really, really hard to advance. And I think that's the question, how can we support that? Why do we have, I mean, there's just a new study also from McKinsey. We still have like close to 50% of women who leave the workforce because they start their families. And that's a fair decision. I don't want to judge it, but if it's not a decision, if it's just too hard, like what can we do to make it easier? How much can we provide more flexibility? How can we offer, like, I have that especially right now because I have, is it fair to say we have 80% of our team is female right now? I think so. And I promoted a lot internally, and for me, it's really, really important, because I had people who helped me and mentored me and empowered me, and I really want to give that to the next generation. And I think we have 4 women right now who either are young mothers, just became first-time mothers, or about to become mothers. And I'm trying to support them as much as I can within my corporate structure to give them more flexibility and to make it work for them, because I think it's really, really important. And I also will tell you that someone who is a mother and who is like struggling with it a little bit, they work so much harder. It's really true. I feel like they try to like just be the best on all fronts, and I would hate to lose that talent, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the unconscious bias part of it is something I think so many companies are struggling with. We internally at ours as well, we've introduced this new sort of structure of promotion and thinking about talent, of trying to remove that bias of your manager and line manager and reviewing your skill set, but of a independent sort of review of, you put yourself forward for recommendation if you've overachieved in your role. There's up and downsides to that, but I think you're right that tackling that unconscious bias piece of it, have you anything you can talk about that you've actively done internally around that, or is it kind of something in the day-to-day that you try and just be aware of is kind of the first step?
I think on both ends, right? There's always the corporate side where we have a great HR team, where we have a lot of great initiatives. And then there's always the question for me personally, what can I do as a leader? Like, how can I make the situation better? And how do I want to show up for my team? And what can I do with my team and for my team every day? That's a personal decision. I could hire externally, or I can promote from within, right? I can take the time for someone and just listen to their story and listen maybe to a complaint, or just allow someone to vent for 10 minutes, or I can just close my door and not be interested in it. And I think that's what you can control, and that's where I like to start.
Yeah, great. So we're getting close to the end. On to something exciting, I guess. What's keeping you excited about the future of retail in just innovation, in technology, in working with consumers? What are you excited about that's going to happen next for the brand?
I think there are so many incredible things to look forward to. I mean, obviously, like, it's this growth journey for us to really becoming this bigger global player now. There is so much more to do on the digital side, which we just touched upon, on the experience. We are building out, like, we are changing a lot more stores right now as we speak. So again, this like experience in store is a huge topic. And then I think we just have so many incredible opportunities to really be the best partner when it comes to marketing to our brand partners, and also work even much more with data points to create the best campaigns and the best performing campaigns.
Amazing. And so you mentioned more stores and sort of expansion in that way. How do your internal team look after sort of media internally, right, versus different agencies? How are you approaching that across the US? And Tourneau is the leading US retailer, right, for luxury watches. What does that sort of next stage and expansion look like here in the US?
It's a good question. So what makes our marketing a little bit unique is that we work with all the brand partners. So we create individual marketing plans for all the brand partners, and then really go like, okay, which region, which product, how does that work best, and what is the right medium as well. And we really seen, especially obviously with the pandemic being a strong catalyst, a huge push for digital. So that's where we really try to hone in, because that's a huge playing field and a great opportunity for us. And then we also still have our own campaigns where we're really trying to move our brand positioning forward.
And so that you mentioned in the rebrand that you'd really started with a consumer focus of speaking to people, understanding those stories and the role that the brand plays. Do you do that as well how do you approach that in an ongoing way of, understanding the role of the store or the priority of the brand and different markets? How do you approach sort of keeping that consumer perspective front of mind in your decisions around marketing in general?
It's very tactical, and it goes through different layers, because we always try to obviously, we have like a campaign around experience, we have campaign around CPO, around like all the new products that come with Buchra, like Buchra Fine Jewelry, and then obviously our brand partners. So it's like multi-layered. We don't have like that one campaign that just talks Buchra. It's like really across all those different segments.
Yeah, amazing. And so you're also a consultant and have a consultant area as well. What from your previous roles and that side of the work that you do as well do you kind of bring into your day-to-day as CMO? Putting you on the spot there.
I think most like the digital transit, I hate that word. I'm just like, it's really like moving forward on the digital side. I think that's something where you see that across the board in that segment. Experience is also something that you see across the board. There's always this like, how do we become this like super cool D2C company? And my point is always like, no, that's not what you want to be. You want to be like the retailer with that incredible digital experience and understand how to use your data points right.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right. It's like those decisions of like strategy. What not to do is just as important as what you're going to do, right? Yes, everybody could build D2C and have all the data and use it in different ways, but is that really the role of the brand for consumers, and is that what they really want?
Today you don't manage your checkout properly, or if you're not like omni-channel, then we don't need to have a conversation around the metaverse.
Exactly, yeah. Keep that for different things. And so if you were, final sort of ending questions, if you were starting over again as CMO day one on the job, is there anything that you'd approach differently? I mean, you kind of tackled pandemic, come out the other side of that, the rebrand of it. Is there anything that you've learned that you might do differently or you'd want to think about in different ways?
It's a very good question.
Putting you on the spot.
I think in some ways, like, because when you do this for a while, like you see it's repetitive what you see, and you kind of know how to move forward. Sometimes just move quicker and be more bold in your decision making. I think that's something I would probably change.
Yeah, I think the previous speaker, Cheryl, mentioned that of just going and just doing things rather than sort of waiting around for permission or just trying to think about what might happen next, and things do come in cycles, right? And so with the rebrand, the digital experience, the future of retail, is there anything specifically in store that you've really adapted to today and the way that you engage with consumers? Is there anything that you're trialing? You mentioned the metaverse and things like that, but of innovation, is there anything that you're bringing in today to help either inform being agile and moving quicker and making decisions?
I think more about the in-store experience, right? Really making it about, like, hospitality is a very big topic for us, but like really that welcoming and hosting, instead of like, I don't want like a certain digital tool. Like, I want to make sure that you come to our store and you feel welcome and you really enjoy that experience. And a big part for us is curation. We want you to come to the store and have not just different products, but also have like a different programming around it, different activations. We have an art curation that we change every second month in the store here in New York. So these are things that we really want to keep everyone engaged, and you come back and it should be a different experience. We had a cool summer campaign with our unique created Buchra ice cream that we custom made. So we want that to be part of that experience.
Yeah, so trialing some of those fun different ways of working. And that sort of a hospitality piece comes from Buchra, right? That was a element of their brand experience that you've kind of brought in and adapted.
We adapted, yeah. So we really adapted it for the United States. We have an incredible hospitality team that really takes that to the next level almost on a daily basis.
And have you found that's really added to that consumer experience? Is it kind of added to the value and that sort of loyalist perception of the brand that you've got? Is it driving anything in terms of business or marketing outcomes for you?
Absolutely. I think everyone has this, oh my God, if I put like a bar in the store, I mean, obviously it's a whole process about licenses and whatnot, that it's not working, or people will just like drink too many drinks or whatever, but it's really like, it's a communication platform. It's a point of meeting people, and we sell a product that people just love. People then love to talk about watches. We're hosting a cocktail on Saturday just for watch enthusiasts, because people just want to come together and talk about watches. And I just want to create that community. And of course, I would like to sell product, but it's not the first thing that's on my mind. I want to create that community and engage people, because that's word of mouth, that's communication, that's marketing, right?
I mean, in the campaign that you mentioned of using those iconic features, and it was around time, right? Anything that it definitely is it's a category that you spend, I mean, it's watches, but you spend time with, right? You want to understand the heritage of those brands, that decision. So allowing people to do that in store.
It's like a gallery concept in a way, because it's like art. You also, if you buy art, you don't buy every day, but you engage with it, you love it, you want to talk about it, you want to be around like-minded people. That's why people like travel to Art Basel. Like, that's why they come to us in the store, because they just want to be around this beautiful timepieces.
Amazing. Well, we're at time, I think. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.